Hey, I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe. Please hit like. And this is going to be the most boring video you'll ever watch, so I'll make it short. This is called screw hunting. So in this case, I've got a size 18 vintage pocket watch, and I've got the plate over here that holds the mainspring in place. There it is there. And I do have the screw for one side. Here it is here. This is a screw that fits in here. And I have to find a screw that fits in here. And so the way you do that is you have a large collection of screws, and this is one of my containers. This is another container that's got a boatload of screws. This is another container that's got a boatload of screws. And I've got some more containers, and what you do is you take your master screw here, if you're lucky enough to have one, and you work your way from the right hand side. You just start on the far right and you work your way left, and you look for, first of all, the diameter of the screw is pretty wide, so it's not going to be something like this. So I put that next to that. No, it ain't fat enough. So I need a fat screw. You can make all the jokes you want to make right now after I just said that. So that is too fat. And as I go from right to left through my herd of screws, am I going to find the right one? Now, I did find in this herd, I found two screws that were plate screws that I needed, and they worked. So I did solve that problem. But these ones, this one is way too fat. So you put that next to this one here, and you can see that it's just an overkill. Now, the worst case scenario is that I have to make a screw, which means I have to tap the screw, and that takes time. So I want to see if I can find one before I go into the screw tapping process. So far, I'm having zero luck finding a screw as I go through all of these screws meticulously. This is why watchmaking takes time. It's not, especially when you're working on vintage pocket watches and you're not absolutely sure what these things are going to look like when you get them. There's a fat one here. Nope. And you really are guessing at what the problems might be on the watch. So currently I have a click for the ratchet wheel that I'm waiting for Dave from Dave's Watch Parts to get back to me to see if he has a click. If he doesn't have a click, I'm going to manufacture a click for this, because there's no way to hold the wind on the mainspring barrel unless the click holds it back. Now, all these are very beautiful screws, but they're just not the right size. They need to be a bit bigger. A bit bigger, but not too big. So this one here, I went through this one yesterday, and I was shit out of luck. So I think I'm going to be shit out of luck again as I get to the end of this. I'm not sure why a minute wheel is in here, but anyway. I will keep going here. This one looks pretty good actually, but I think it's too fat. So when I find one that looks okay, let me just tip that over and then eyeball the screw threads. That might be okay. So the problem I have with this one here is it's got a little bit of a lip here. Now, I'm not sure if that lip will cause a problem, but it probably will. So I'll bring the movement over here and grab this screw here. I don't think this will work, but I'm going to put it in anyway. Yeah, it doesn't, I don't think it'll drop down far enough. So let me just turn this and see what happens. No, it's riding on the lip. That's the problem. So this looked like it might have been the right size screw. So I take this screw and remove the plate here and just put the screw down on the threaded hole. Like that. And of course I'll have to just turn this backwards. No, that falls right through. So even this isn't the right size. Thought I had something here, but nope. No dice, folks. No mass. Can you remember who said no mass? A famous boxer, when he was fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, said no mass. And they stopped the fight. And you guys, I want you to guess who that boxer was. If you watch my channel and you're into vintage pocket watches, you're probably the right age. So now this set of screws here, these are a ton of screws here. So one thing I can do is just dump them. So I don't like doing this typically because it takes such a long time to pick them all up again. But I just dump the screws, and I want to make sure I keep this one separate because this is the master. If I mix that one up with the rest of them, then I have another problem. So here I've got a broader selection of screws that are bigger, I'd say. A screw like this might work, but I'd have to shave the head down on it and then for it to fit properly. So what I'll do is I'll try to see if this actually will screw in. If it screws in proper and it's got the right threading, then I could have some sort of a solution here, right? So I'll hold the screw here. So I'm tipping the plate. I should just take the plate off here. Nope, that is not screwing in. That was a nice attempt though. That was a fair attempt. So I have all the rest of them here. I know the width and the threading. Kind of eyeball the width, and the threading is fairly fine threading, so threading like this will not work. I could find the threading, but really I'm eyeballing all this anyway. So again, going left to right, looking for the proper screw. It's not too bad, but I think the threading is wrong. And when you test the screw on the part, don't force it because you'll ruin the threading on the part. That is not going in. So when I find one that doesn't work, just throw it back into the heap and continue. I'll bet you dollars to donuts, wherever that saying came from, that these are from European watches. And the threading standard is different than what would have been the standard for Elgin watches. So I'm looking for a finer thread, and I'm not getting the finer thread. Now if I get a one of my tap and die sets out, I can figure out from the other screw what the threading is. Keep turning the light off with my forehead. Yes, I did tell you this is going to be the most boring video you've ever seen, right? Turn the light back on. And if you get to the end of this video, I'll be amazed. You likely are ready to turn it off right now. I did tell a joke in one of my videos. And the joke was, there's two flies sitting on a turd. One fly leans over and he cuts a fart really loud, like that. The other fly looks at him and says, "Do you mind? I'm eating." I'm waiting for your laughs. Yeah, I can't, doesn't look like there's anything here that's appropriate. Yeah, these are all either the thread is not fine enough, or the yeah, so this I think is a complete failure. Whenever I find one, I try it out. Oh, that's way too small. Alright, so none of these screws are the right size. And here's my second last, I'll say, bunch of screws that probably have zero potential, but I'm dumping them anyway to have a look. See if there's anything in this heap of screws that might work. It's an odd size screw. I looked in my Elgin parts thingamajobby doohickey as well and couldn't find anything in there. I'm looking at all these here, and the fat ones, yeah, have the threading too far apart. It's not fine enough threading. And even if I can find a screw that works, I can shave the head down, which I wouldn't mind doing. There's a case screw there. These screws are somewhat magnetized as well. Nope. Nope, as they say. This one here looks... Nope. Too wide enough diameter on that one. I've got my eye loop on and I'm as close as I want to get. Nope. So there's nothing here. Now what I'm going to do is see if I have a sacrifice movement that might have a size 18 movement that might have one of these screws. Oh, look. More screws. A jillion more screws in here. I have some screws in there, but I think they're all way too small. I've got a bunch of screws in here that I'm going to look at. And I have a bunch of screws in here that I'm going to look at. So, more screws. You can never have too many screws. And I've got more screws in here. And I have more screws in here. You can see that. There's like a jillion screws in there. And these are not screws. And I've got some miscellaneous screws here, and I've got more screws in here. Steel-headed American threaded screws. So look at all of these screws. Oh my God. Screw hunting is going to kill me. And I got some various parts and screws in here. I'll have to look in there as well. All right, let's begin the hunting. Holy crap, there's a lot of screws in this one. This is why it takes so long. Probably make a screw faster. Look at all these screws, man. Look at them all. Is there a match? Again, more containers of screws. Absolutely nothing here. What about this one? Nothing. About this nest of stuff. This could be interesting. I'm not actually sure why they wrap these in paper, but there's a bunch of screws in here too. I think they just tried to prevent them from rattling around. And they got it all wrapped in this paper here, which just makes it more difficult to take the screws out. I think that's that. Toss that on the floor, don't need that anymore. Now what do I have here? Do I have any candidates in this bunch? Lots of nice screws in here, but I don't know if there's any candidates in here. They all seem to be a little bit too narrow a diameter. It's like this friggin' old 18 size pocket watch demanded that that plate be put on by bigger screws for some reason. The engineers were bored again. They were like, tell management we need bigger screws. Yeah, I can't see anything in here. I just look at the existing screw here. No, they're all way too small. So this is the bigger screw department here. Yeah, I can't see anything that has got the diameter that I'm looking for. Getting closer to the requirement to actually make my own screw. Now, given that I actually have the capability of my die set will actually fit this properly. I got a couple of sets, so we'll see which ones make the grade. Put these back and continue. And here I have another one of these things filled with paper. Just cut the tape on one side and dump. Again, I think the paper was supposed to prevent these screws from rattling in transport. But they're all likely too small diameter again. But I shall try. Let's rotate this paper to get as much of it out as I can. Throw that on the floor, and now I've got a whole wackadoo full of screws and some interesting parts, and I don't know if any of that fits. So again, nothing in this group of screws fits as well, but I think I can consolidate containers. So the only value I have is put them in here. And my friends out there in the watchmaking world right about now are going, why the hell are you doing this? Well, usually I'm lucky and usually find the right screw, but this screw just seems to have a bit wider diameter than the average screw. So I'm just hunting and hunting and hunting. I got one more area to hunt, and that's, or two more, and that's it. Alrighty then. So now I've got this container full of screws here. I think these are assorted Elgin steel American threaded screws. Elgin. So you'd think that this bag would have the right screw in it. They're Elgin screws. My God. So I'm going to dump the whole friggin' bag here. And then I'm going to do some serious screw hunting with this bag of screws. That's a lot of screws. And I'll probably put them in that other container as opposed to trying to get them back in this bag. These are Elgin screws, folks. Look at them all. So if I needed any screws for jewels, I'd be all set. There looks like some fat ones in there. So let's have a look. Like, look how fat that one is. That's too fat. And then I've got this one here. This one might actually fit. This is the master, and this is the other one. Look at the threads. Hard to say, but let's get the plate over here. I'm going to just take the plate off of the movement because it's easier to work with. This is the one that works. I'm going to move that out of the way. Here's the plate, and here's where that screw would go. How did that fall in or what? Let's see what kind of movement I get here. It might not be long enough. No, it's the wrong, it's still too narrow a diameter, but close. Gotta get that out before it causes me issues. So this one here is close. Close, but no cigar. Still a little, needs to be a little bit thicker. Oh my God. Stop the pain. What about this one? These are all Elgin screws. So I'm gonna is this one gonna work? I really apologize, but this is called screw hunting. That's the name of the video. So if you're expecting anything but screw hunting, you're in the wrong channel. This one actually feels like the right size, but it's also feeling like it's trying to strip the threads. No. Oh, so this one is so close. Oh, I'm feeling a bit happier about this bunch of screws here. What about this one? No, I just sort of fell in, rubbed against the threads and fell in. Definitely don't want these things to get stuck and ruin the threads. That's sort of so weird, because this is just a little tiny bit bigger. This is the master over here. I'm going to make sure this does not get mixed in with the rest of those stooges. So I'm having a lot better success with this particular bunch of screws. Most of them are just a bit too small still. Even the big ones are a bit too small. This one's way too big. What about this one here? That had potential. I'm just plucking some of these out that I know that might have the right diameter. No. Darn, these things just fall right through. This is the closest I've been to date for successful screw hunting on this side. The screw stuck in the screw. Oh, I'm getting screwed here, so to speak. Come on, screws, where are you? Where is the one I need? Nope. Jeez. Jeez Louise. I've got such nice screws here, though. All candidates, potential candidates for the 2028 Olympic screw hunting event. All potential candidates, all falling through. Belgian my ass. I can kind of look at the top of these now and tell you whether they're going to fit or not. What's this one going to do? Nope, it just fell through. Fell through the threading. And you don't want the screw, like I said before, to ruin your threading. So you need to very carefully pull it out. Like that. What a pain this is. This one looks like it's the perfect screw, and then you put it in there and it just falls in. See? Gee whiz. Just slightly bigger than this screw here. And then it's got to, of course, have the right threads or it won't work. I think I got a lot of them that are just almost the right size. Should I apologize ahead of time or what? Good God. A million screws and none of them work. You could call me the desperate watchmaker. See if this one does anything here. This one actually feels really good, but it's too big. Darn. This one here had very good potential. But if I look at the threads between this one and the master, yeah, I can see the threads are finer on the master. That was one of the closest ones so far. These ones all kind of fall through. This one's too big. Oh my God. Why did Elgin make screws that were non-standard? Just to piss me off. Just to find that perfect screw. I think this one is like the other one. I think it's gonna feel good, but it's too big. See, this one here feels like it should be the right one, but the threading is wrong. I need threading from 1910. Anybody can help me? It would be a wonderful thing. No, too narrow. And this package of screws was Elgin National Watch Company screws. Theoretically, should have been the right screws for this movement, but anyway, not so. I don't know how, again, this movement shouldn't have been missing that screw, and it was missing two other screws, which makes me think that somebody basically was using it as a sacrifice movement, basically robbing parts from it. And the gentleman who provided it to me to repair said it was his great-grandfather's pocket watch. His great-grandfather brought it to a watchmaker and he robbed parts from it. I thank you very much, right? So none of these fit. They're either the wrong thread or they're just the wrong screw. So I'm going to throw these into this box here and then continue. And I got to make sure I isolate my master. And I got a gajillion screws here, thousands and thousands of screws here that I have to put back in that box. I won't record it. I think this is my last screw container, and then I'm screwed. Not sure if I've got anything in this thing here, but I'm going to just open it up and dump it. Random screws. Random screws and other parts, it looks like. Yeah, I doubt if there's anything in here. After looking at the 10 gajillion screws I had. I think this is actually too small. All right, when in doubt, hold the screw with your tweezers and then use your other hand here with the screwdriver. No, that just fell right in. So the threading is off on this too. It's a very non-standard thread size on this particular very old watch. Everything is either too big or just not appropriate. So let's look at the threads compared to something else. It just falls right through. This is weird. Yep. So this is another pile of useless stuff. I'm putting the non-screw parts aside here because there are some balance cock pallet fork bridges here that maybe I can use in the future. But none of these seem to fit. None of them, I tell you. Check this one here out. None of them. It was almost a fit, except when you push on it properly, it just falls out. And just to make sure, I'm going to take the master here. Put that in here. You know what? This one also falls through, which means that the previous watchmaker has stripped the hole on this side, and that's likely why there's no screw in there. Which means I may have to tap a new screw into place here, because it fits perfectly on this side without a problem. That means this was stripped. So if this was stripped, perhaps I can use a bigger screw and just tap it in. Yeah, this one fits perfectly in there. Let me just put that aside here to see. Just make sure the head fits in the plate. There it is there. And if I were to take this other screw here, and screw this in here, oh my God. So this one fits perfectly as well. So these two screws are the right ones. So the problem here is that this thing has been stripped. Man, oh man. So if I screw this in, I think it needs to be retapped. So this screw here is the same as the other one. And you can see how it fits in the plate. So these are the right screws. So I've gotten this far. Now, the question is, when I put this together, like so, like that, and I know the threading on this side works well. The other side, the threading is a bit stripped. If I Loctite, like use solid Loctite on that, will it grip the thread enough to keep a good grip on that plate? So if I put that in there and I use Loctite, will that stay in place? That's the question I have right now. 'Cause right now it doesn't seem like it's got a lot of... Alright, enough of this, enough. So the summary is, I found the two screws that were exactly the same. So I did find another screw. These screws are exactly the same. They both fit nicely into this Elgin movement. The problem is the one on this side, the screw hole is stripped. So whoever did the watchmaking on this thing screwed the screw hole. That's why this did not have a screw in it. Someone stripped it. So I've got to figure out how to fix the stripping of that screw. I was thinking of just putting Loctite in there, screwing it down, but I think I do need to tap it properly and find the right screw to put that in, and I may have to make a screw. There's no other way of doing it properly. So that's it. That was the screw hunting. It's sad that I actually didn't know that screw was the threading on there was stripped. Had I known that earlier, I probably wouldn't have been so aggressively hunting. I could find a screw that's a little bit bigger and then tap it, but we'll get into that in another video.